we'd like to have Rabbi Lauren come up and give us a little prayer.
Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this food. Thank you for this great country club. Thank you for these fantastic surroundings. Thank you for friends and family, for brothers and sisters. Thank you for creating us in your image with the ability to enjoy life and the sense of humor that you have given to us, which is a really unique, cool thing. And I pray, Lord, that everything that is said would be in some ways humorous, but also in good taste, and would build us up at the same time. Somehow. Amen.
Now that was some real wishful thinking there. Wrong crowd. Since you notice it's a motorcycle theme, I thought I would wear my helmet. Wait a minute, I'm there. Yeah.
It actually says DOT.
It just fits my balls quite a bit. I've known Glenn for quite a while, and I've admired his commitment to his marriage. And I asked him, give me some piece of advice, that I might give to other people, regarding marriage. And he said, well, says 2 times a week he takes goes out to a nice restaurant, has a little beverage, good food, and some companionship. Alexander goes on Tuesday and Glenn goes on Thursday.
Wait, did you start that?
This would bring a hearing aid for you. And after you heard it, oh, wait a minute. Get in your spot over here, young man.
I was asking in good faith. Let's welcome Glenn to the chair.
Alright, we have next year wired for electricity.
I zoomed it out actually a little bit.
Okay.
Our first person that's going to come up tonight is Dave Gerber. He's one of Glenn and our friend, our friend. Dave will tell you that he's a pastor. After he's done with his humor, I think you'll know that that's not a church you want to go to. Gerber told me that he asked his wife where she wanted to go for her anniversary. She said, someplace I haven't been before. He said, get in the kitchen.
First of all, I read the flyer too quickly, and I was expecting roast rabbit. wife, so whatever. He has a show on 1500 AM, just so you know. It's 3:30 to 4 if you guys aren't doing anything at that time. So then I thought, okay, Glenn says, oh, my parents are coming. You know, like Jewish mothers and their kids, so what are you going to say except, oh, I love him, he's a great guy. Anyway, we met friends, we became friends, and at our first meeting, I was actually running late, and I was worried about that. And not anymore, because there's like standard time, and then there's Glenn Rabbi time. You can come a half hour late and still be early for the meeting. That's all. So he invited me to be a part of this Kosher Dogs Touring Society ride, and I guess because Hebrew Nationals was taken. And it couldn't be like wild hogs because they're unclean. And then I looked up, all the cool animals are unclean. And then I thought, if Jesus makes you kosher, why couldn't he make like eagles or rhinos or geckos kosher? So we're the kosher dogs. And Glenn is a student of his people. Glenn is a true scholar. He did not go anywhere without a map. Because he didn't want to be lost for 40 seconds, let alone 40 years. When I graduated Bible college, and I know a little Greek. I didn't know any little Hebrew. The Greek I know is Taylor, and then when I met him, I know a little Hebrew now. So that's good. And I don't know much Hebrew, like oi and meshuga and shmo. Well, Glenn comes along and he rescues me from this stuff. Do you guys remember Gus Portocalis from my Big Fat Greek Word?
Oh, yeah.
Every word has he's like, every word. You give me a word, I'll give you the Hebrew word. And then I'm like, what about like nudnik or something? It was like my Big Fat Hebrew ride. And I was so excited because, I didn't get my patch yet. They kept calling me Pro-E, and I was like, I'll give you Pro-E. And so there was like this one ritual that he said, I could be part of the kosher dogs, and it was called a bris. And I was like all excited because I thought he said blintz. And joining Protestant churches is far less painful for all you guys. Now we were told that there were no jokes about, at Alexander's expense, and we figured that was because she'd suffered enough. And there were no Rabbi Lauren jokes because Glenn told me how sensitive you are. Wow, that's let's keep killing the Rabbi just killed me there. And he suffered enough. So, now, dear minister, how much could you make? He's really proud of his yarmulke. He got this new yarmulke, and I guess it's an Israeli-made bike. It's really stingy on gas consumption. But tell the Jewish jokes. They're funny. Don't think they're funny. They're waiting for the team. Okay, Bob, tell that underwear joke. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I may as well go with, I started when I was at Patrick. I met Glenn, and at some point we became friends. It wasn't immediate, and it wasn't. I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, but it was meant to be. Probably the only predestination thing I'll agree on. Anyway, so I started this ministry to do evangelism and speaking at retreats and stuff like that, and I call it Skin Ministries. And he's like, this sounds kind of Aryan, like you're a skinhead. And I was like, wow. And he said, probably don't want to evangelize Jews with that name, so, Shalom Ministries was taken. But, so we talked about that, and then Mike calls, and he asks if I'd like to roast Rabbi Glenn, and I'm thinking this is a politically correct kind of test to see if I really am Aryan. And I was like, I don't want to roast Rabbi Glenn or any Jew I know. made fun of me all night. We have been actually, so it's really good. But Glenn, I want to tell you, there's a rare gift and probably one of the greatest tests of my faith. And I'm being serious now because it's going to sound like I'm not. But one of the greatest tests of my faith, one of the greatest challenges to my faith, is the way that we Christians treat each other. It is a drag to me. And Glenn and I are on opposite ends of the theological spectrum, but we focus always on the one thing that we have in common, a deep and abiding love for Jesus Christ. Yeshua HaMashiach, whatever. Is that rude to use Hebrew and German at the same time? Don't say anything, just say it until the end, okay? But we focus on that, and Glenn has always been filled with grace, and you have been a dear friend. In the short time that we've known each other, it has seemed like a lifetime. Believe me, I know how you feel now in your marriage. I asked her, I said, how long have you been married? And she said, well, it seems like 5 minutes underwater. But Glenn, as Don Rickles would say, all kidding aside, you are a good friend and a dear man and a brother in the Lord, and you restore my faith very often when we can disagree and yet focus on the things that we agree on. So thank you for being my friend and my brother, and I hope it only gets worse from here.